Usually overwhelm is a symptom of low clarity and high demand. So the problem isn't that we're working too hard. Rather, we're working too hard on things that don't matter to us. Welcome to the Bears and Lions podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Vaught, and this is the podcast where we challenge our present by viewing our past. I'm a firm believer that our greatest future will always lie within the correct view of our past. Yeah, we've probably gone through some traumatic things. Yeah, we've probably gone through some really incredibly difficult things and some other things that are probably in there as well. But when we look at it through the lens of hope and joy and excitement, I think that we see that there are so many things that we've already accomplished. There's so many things that we've already conquered. There's so many things that we've already gone through and said, no, I'm not going to let this define me. I'm going to overcome this, right? There's so many aspects of what we've gone through that gives us confidence to say, what I'm going through right now in my present, I can take care of. I know I can. And it gives us a track record, a little bit of a track to follow as well, knowing that we have what it takes and we have a game plan to be able to step into our future with a ferocity and joy, knowing that we don't have all the answers. There's a lot of unknown ahead of us. But if we know what we can know in our past, we can see that, yes, I know that I'm strong enough to handle this and I'm ready to step into my future. And that's exactly what I want to do with this podcast. So let's step into the future together. And today I want to talk to you about feeling overwhelmed. I think it's a common feeling, almost an anxiety that you feel a little bit anxious as you feel like there's a lot to do. And this feeling of overwhelm is something that I am currently experiencing. It's something that I've experienced quite a lot actually in my life. And I'm sure that you probably have experienced the feeling of overwhelm as well. Now, I want to break it down first because I do think that it's interesting because we talk about feeling overwhelmed with work, overwhelmed with anxiety, overwhelmed with stress or emotions. But there's also the flip side of that, right? Overwhelm as a feeling and emotion, the definition is it's just overwhelm. The definition of overwhelm is a very great amount. And that's why there are times when it can also be a good thing, right? You'll hear somebody say, they just won the championship. And what are you saying? I'm just overwhelmed by emotions right now, right? It's the overwhelming feeling of joy or excitement. So overwhelm is not a bad thing. And I don't want you to look at overwhelmed. And when you're overwhelmed, I don't want you to look at it and say, this can only be bad. It often can be a lot, a very great amount by definition, but it's often, we think about it as I'm overwhelmed in a negative terminology. I'm overwhelmed with anxiety. I'm overwhelmed by emotions in not a good way. I'm overwhelmed by the amount of work that I have to do. And so whether good or bad, we can pinpoint that moment in our lives where we have felt overwhelmed. And I just wanted to kind of set the ground rules and set the stage here for you to be able to frame it for you and see that there is a flip side to it, right? It's not just overwhelmed being a negative thing. There's also overwhelmed being a positive thing. And I think that by the end of this conversation, I hope you'll understand that there is a lot of excitement to be had in the process of overwhelmed. And you say, how? All I feel right now is overwhelmed with the amount of stuff that I have to do. And I kind of want to break it down in this sense, too, for you. If you have ever worked on a car or if you know anything about a car battery, there's something called an alternator in your car. The alternator, it's an integral part, right? And it's a combustion engine piece that it has a sole responsibility. The alternator has a sole responsibility to convert chemical energy to electrical energy so that you can charge and replenish the battery in your engine and any other electrical component in your car. So as you're driving, your battery drains to run everything, and everything goes all at once. Your stereo, your air condition, your car, the starter, etc. All of that happens because the battery sparks that charge. But as you're driving, if you are just running on that battery power, you're not going to get very far. So it has an alternator. The alternator will actually take the energy that is coming from the engine in a combustion engine. And so like if you hit the gas is going to go, the engine and the pistons are going to go. It's going to cause the car to begin moving. or the engine to begin running, etc. But the energy that it is creating will actually go into the alternator. The alternator will convert it and then put it back into the battery. So it'll recharge it. And the reason why I bring up the alternator, I call it the alternator effect, just because this is what happens in our lives. And there are moments, and I think each and every one of us can probably pinpoint this moment where we've worked on something that we've really enjoyed and something that we've really liked to do, and we've lost track of time. And we put hours and hours and hours into it, and it's like, oh no, I can still go. Let's go. And when you have those moments with friends, right, you may be overwhelmed with great time. You go out with all the friends, and it's like you just lose track of time. And even though you were just absolutely overwhelmed with joy and excitement and everything that's going on around you, you don't want it to end, and you don't need it to end because your energy levels are just continuing to be replenished and recharged. And when you find what energizes you, you can put crazy amounts of time and energy into it, because no matter how much you put in, it's going to pour right back into you. And when you find that thing that you are working for, so maybe it's a dream, maybe it's a desire, maybe it's a hope, there are going to be things that you can do that for a short period of time. And during that overwhelmed feeling, when you're feeling overwhelmed, I think it's most important to recognize that, is this energizing me as well? Because I may feel overwhelmed and stressed, but I think the depression comes when we stop doing what we know we should do or what we are enjoying to do. I think one of the biggest things that I actually have learned is that when I am feeling exhausted, but I'm doing something that's beneficial for me, I don't quit that now. And I literally have to tell myself, the other day I was feeling really tired and I was like, I want to sleep in and I don't want to go to the gym, but I know that the gym is something that's healthy for me. And I know that it's something that sets my day up, and I know that it's something beneficial. So I'm not going to sleep in, even though I think that that would be healthier for me, right? I wanted to stop it because I was overwhelmed with stress and anxiety. Instead, I said, no. We're going to go to the gym. And I made myself go to the gym. As soon as I got done with the gym, I felt energized and almost like the alternator had replenished everything inside of me. And it was this moment of realizing, no, I need to do certain things because it's going to replenish my energy in more ways than sleep. And I felt so much better that I actually got up and I actually did it. And I actually went to the gym. And I think there are things in our lives that will stress us out and create anxiety. And everything around us says, you need to take a break. You need to rest. You need to allow yourself to transition, whatever it might be. You need to allow yourself to acclimate to whatever you're doing. Maybe you're going through a big change and you need, time. For me, it's transitioning in a move. I'm stressed out about looking for apartments and trying to find it, trying to do my budget, trying to figure out what I can afford, what I can't afford, what I will be able to afford versus what I can't afford right now, et cetera, what my debt payments are going to look like and how I'm going to be aggressive with that still, how I'm going to plan the podcast and how I'm going to pre-record things so that this podcast can still take place during the weeks while I'm moving and I might not have time. I did a practice podcast as well on the go today, which I actually think is going to work out really well. So I'm hoping I'll still be able to post and still be able to do a lot of the things just from my laptop if need be. But all of that is stressing me out. And I think all of us have these moments. But when you find something that you really love, it alleviates a lot of that stress to an extent. I read something that Layla Hormozi said, Alex Hormozi's wife. She's the CEO of acquisitions.com. She posted this today, and I actually loved it. It said, usually overwhelm is a symptom of low clarity and high demand. So the problem isn't that we're working too hard. Rather, we're working too hard on things that don't matter to us. And I absolutely think that that is so true, right? We get stressed when we're working on things that don't really matter to us. So if going to the gym didn't really matter to me, right? if it didn't matter at all and it didn't give me that energy and it doesn't replenish like an alternator, if it's not like that, then there would be no point for me to go to the gym. And it might be better for me to sleep. And I think we get to this point sometimes with work or in relationships as well, where you are wondering, is this something that I should be doing long term? Is this somebody that I should be hanging out with long term? Is this something that I even should put myself through? Because I don't know if this is worth it, right? It's not something that matters to me anymore. And just as a full transparency, I used to video game. I used to stream on Twitch. I love playing video games. I still enjoy video games. I played some today just because I still enjoy it. It's still something that brings me joy. However, during COVID in 2020 to 2022, I played a lot of video games because I streamed pretty much full time. Anytime I could, I streamed on Twitch. And one of the things that I learned is I just don't enjoy games. Not like I used to. I could sit down and play games for a long, long time and never get tired. And it was just so much fun. But now I get on games, I get maybe an hour tops before I completely get bored. Some games, it depends on who I'm playing with, because sometimes just the company and the conversation allows me to play the games much longer because they're so much more fun with people. But it's something that's really interesting is I just don't enjoy it. So it's not something I'm going to put my time to. So if I ever felt like I needed to let that go, I could let that go without even thinking about it. There's not a day that goes by where I'm like, I really want to play this new game. Nah. I'll play a game whenever I get a couple minutes here and there where I'm like, yeah, this would be really fun. Or I just have time to kill. Sure. There's nothing wrong with playing games. But for me, it's not something that matters anymore. So the last section that I kind of wanted to talk to you about, overwhelmed, is this is the hard one. And this is one where I wasn't really sure how to say this. I came across a tweet the other day, and actually that's what sparked this thought of having this conversation about being overwhelmed. I see a lot of people who are overwhelmed, and they express that they're overwhelmed with life, overwhelmed with decisions, overwhelmed with work, etc. And they post tweets about it. I will put myself in that group of people who post tweets about being overwhelmed and stuff like that in the past as well. And we say these things, but we asked for this moment. I saw this tweet. It said something to the extent of you cannot complain about having too much on your plate if you're the one that asked to eat. You asked for this. You asked for everything. You asked for the life that is like this. You wanted to be a part of this. You wanted to eat. Now you have a bunch of things on your plate, and it's up to you to prioritize, go through them, find out what energizes you, put your time and effort into it, and clear that plate. And sometimes it is very overwhelming. It's very overwhelming, but the same people who asked to have a significant life, to live a life of purpose, to live a life of greatness, are the same people who are now saying, it's stressful, I'm overwhelmed, I have too much on my plate right now, which it's okay to have too much on your plate, but don't complain about it. It will not be easy. Stop asking for it to be easy. If you want easy, then don't pursue a life of purpose and greatness. If it's too heavy now, I can promise you, the only thing you can do is put in the work to be strong enough to lift it tomorrow. If it's too heavy today, put in the work so that you're strong enough to lift it tomorrow. It's really tough. But if you want to live this type of life, then you have to learn how to prioritize, determine what's going on, what energizes you, and you have to let everything else fade away. The feeling of overwhelmed, like Layla said, it's not that we're working too hard. It's that we're spending too much time or working too hard on things that don't matter to us. So if you are having to go out of your way to spend time with old friends, it is time to let those friends go. You don't have to burn a bridge. We're actually going to talk about it soon, about the terminology of controlled burning. You don't have to burn a bridge, but you don't have to keep going back or backtracking. Some of you have made super awesome strides forward and have found yourself in so much growth and excitement, and you've started new jobs and you have a new routine, or you have new growth, or you have new goals. And then you backtrack. It's like you run up ahead and you're like, yes, I reached the finish line. And then you come back and you're like, okay, now I'm going to go back to where my friends are just chilling. And there's nothing wrong with encouraging friends to come with you. But there is a point where you have to kind of determine they're not going to come with me. Right? And when you learn to prioritize what you actually want, you begin to care less about what other people think of you. Because unless they're already where you want to go, chances are they're just going to talk you out of the very thing that you know you should do, right? Hey, come hang out with us on Friday night. No, I've got this project I want to finish by Saturday, so instead I'm going to stay in and I'm going to just chill, get that work done on Friday, go to bed early. No, come out. No, I'm gonna make it a priority. I'm gonna finish this by Saturday so it can be posted on Sunday. Or maybe it's something along the lines of, hey, we never hang out anymore. Let's hang out this week. No, it's a weeknight. I gotta get to bed. I'm gonna wake up early. I'm gonna go to the gym. When you actually begin prioritizing, a lot of those voices, they kind of get a little bit more quiet. And it's easier. It's not you burning a bridge. Don't be rude. This isn't you going up to somebody and saying, I'm sorry, I'm better than you now that I work out. You and I can't hang out. No, that's the dumbest thing. I have great friends that know that I'm pursuing things, that know that I'm driving for something, that know that I'm striving for something. And you know what? The last time I hung out with them, I said, I got to go to bed. And they said, awesome. Have a great night. Love you. Like, have those type of friends. That's fine. It's not me hating on somebody or trying to burn a bridge. It's me just simply saying, I'm no longer running that path the exact same way with you. So I'm going to catch you later, but I've got to prioritize what is important to me. And when you learn those things that are important to you, it makes it really easy. So use wisdom in that and use kindness. I am not calling for people to burn bridges. I am not calling for people to cut people out of your life just willy-nilly. There may be people that you have to cut out. But for the most part, it's about making a priority and saying, I'm not gonna keep doing this. That's gonna do it for this conversation. I really appreciate each and every one of you that listen. I've got to kind of figure out what we're going to be doing over the next few weeks because the move is going to come up really quick because I am moving to Baltimore. But for those of you who are watching on YouTube, make sure that you like and subscribe. If you want to drop a comment, that actually really helps with engagement. So thank you so much. If you're following or listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, make sure that you rate that 5 stars. Make sure that you like it. On Spotify, I think you get a little survey at the end, so make sure that you fill that out and give me something nice to say. I really appreciate it. It means a lot to me. If you want to find me on Instagram, you can find me at Kyle, Kyle _Vaught, V as in Victor, ATT, or Twitter, which is now known as X, formerly known as Twitter. You can find me there at Kyle Vaught, V as in Victor, ATT. I really appreciate all of you. I hope that you have a wonderful, wonderful week. And as always, remember to give grace, show love, and stay stellar. Peace.